the channel. Robert Kesakos is the usual suspects. Welcome back to yet another live broadcast on your favorite football updates channel. Accept my sincere apologies. I'm very, very late today. But yeah, I figured why not use the remaining couple of minutes to the top of the hour to say a thing or two in regards to what's happening from the world of football tonight. But before we proceed any further, allow me have our audio tested before I can say any more because I'm not sure we have sound, but I hope I think we're good. I think we're good on the part of sound. As we speak, the EFL Cup is ongoing, the fourth round of the EFL Cup, and Brentford are 3-0 up against Grimsby Town. Looks like they are on their path to the quarterfinals or the fifth round of the competition. I must admit, Brentford could be one of the teams to beat in this competition. First of all, Keith Andrews has gotten so many things right. We're talking about a Brentford side we're talking about a Grimsby side that knocked out Manchester United at the second round, and then at the third round, they knocked out, I think it was Sheffield Wednesday, who have since gone into administration due to financial challenges here and there. So, but yeah, that's really that's what's going on that side or on that front. So they are 3-0 up as we speak. Second half has resumed, and yeah, we will be monitoring what's happening on that side. There are other games are ongoing with Fulham also in action tonight. And I will be giving you whatever the updates are from those respective competitions as you should expect them. Then the Italian Serie A is also on tonight. Napoli have already beaten up against Lecce by a goal to nil. That goal scored by Sambongisa, Zambo Anguissa. Yes, Zambo Anguissa was the goal scorer. Man on form. As we speak, AC Milan are 1-1 against Atlanta. Yeah, that game is also ongoing as we speak in as far as the Italian Serie A is concerned. So do not miss out on that action in case it's something that does, catch your attention. I'm trying to see if I can get the feed for that particular game for AC Milan, although to little success so far. I'm really, really trying to see if I can find that game, and we see. But yeah, they are already in the second half. Action is ongoing. So if I do get the feed for that AC Milan game, I'll be sure we will be following the updates as we chat out some of the things tonight. Tomorrow, the likes of Arsenal are in action as well, so do not miss out on that. Yeah, very, very important game, I think, for Arsenal. And in regards to their pursuit of silverware, can they win a piece of silverware this season? That's the objective. I think if they were to kickstart it with the Carabao Cup by time of February, maybe it would be a good thing. But they are not the only big team left in the competition. And there still are other big teams like Liverpool, who are up against Crystal Palace tomorrow. Manchester City are up against Swansea tomorrow. They are also still in the competition. So do not think that it's going to be a free run or a free reign for Arsenal in that regard. So they will have to earn their status should they think that they should be winning that competition. But yeah, okay. Let's look at the updates exactly as things go. Like I told you in the 51st minute already into that game, Brentford has 3-0 up against Grimsby Town, while Fulham are 1-1 against Wycombe. Wycombe Wanderers did open the lead in as early as the 4th minute through Woodrow, and then I think King, is it Joshua King? For Fulham, yes, Joshua King did score in the second half to restore parity for Fulham. Sorry, apologies. Yes, he did score in the third minute of the second half to restore parity. And then Cardiff City won up against Wrexham, and that game is into halftime. So that's what's happening. In the German Bundesliga, sorry, in German, the DFB Pokal fixtures are also ongoing. So many cup competitions are underway. In as far as this midweek action is concerned, in the Copa del Rey in Spain, action has also ongoing. So many teams were in action. For example, Cadiz, you remember them from the La Liga last season, did beat up against Murcia by Murcia, I think Murcia by 3-1. So that action is ongoing. Like I said, Atlanta through Ademola Lookman have restored parity. That was by halftime. Thanks to he did score the equalizer thanks to an assist by Christian Pulisic that helped. Sorry, by Pasalic. Yes, not Christian Pulisic. Apologies. Christian Pulisic does play for AC Milan. Samuel Rucci. So Rucci did score to give AC Milan the lead in as early as the 4th minute. And so many early goals today. But yes, Samuel Ricci was the goal scorer there for AC Milan, and then Ademola Lookman. Remember, he was desperate to leave the club during the course of the summer. Inter Milan were interested, but Atlanta were never going to budge on their asking price for the 27-year-old Nigerian forward. So they did not budge. Eventually, the deal fell through, and he ended up staying. Even after putting out, a statement in regards to express his feelings in as far as what he would have wanted to do going forward with his career was concerned. But yeah, eventually, when you do not get the dream move, you have to sort of bury your head in the sand and get on with action and see where things lead you, and see where things lead you. So for them, for Ademola Lookman, that's unfortunately or fortunately, that's the situation he's had to sort of deal with. And these days, he gets to play. I mean, he's not the first player to have his deal fall through. In as far as wanting a transfer away from the club is concerned, these things unfortunately do happen in football. I'm sure Nigerians would have loved for him to sort of move on, perhaps, because leaving Atlanta to go to Inter Milan, that's, if we are being honest, is an upgrade. You're more likely to win silverware with Inter Milan than you are with Atlanta. Never mind that back in 2023, was it 2023? No, 2024. He helped Atlanta win the UEFA Europa League when he scored that hat-trick against Bayer Leverkusen in the finals of the UEFA Europa League. And so he's a man that has made a mark on Italian football. He's a man that has made his contribution, and that's contribution has been very, very significant, helping the game win silverware. Remember, they were still under the charges of Gian Piero Gasperini, who has since left the club to join AC Roma. I mean, and Roma not doing bad. They've sort of had an okay start to the season. The reason as to why I say an okay is because, yeah, they've equally lost some games, and tomorrow they will be in action. So when you look at the Italian Serie A standings, they are currently 18th on the Italian Serie A table with 6 victories and 2 defeats so far this season, putting them at 8 points. That's about what? Let me see. Yeah, about 3 points behind the leaders, Napoli. And like I said, they will be in action tomorrow to see if they can, maintain their status so far, or their brilliant start to the season. Tomorrow they will be up against Parma. They are going to be at home against Parma. Como will be up against Hellas Verona. Juventus, who part ways with Igor Tudor, will be up against Udinese. Bologna will take on Torino, while Genoa will be up against Cremonese, and Inter Milan will take on Fiorentina. So do not miss out on that action or on any of that action if things do impress you. But coming into this fixture, they did beat up against Sassuolo over the weekend by a goal to nil. So that's IC Roma for you. And for those of you that do bet on some of those games, I'm sure you now know what the status of things is like in as far as the Italian Serie A is concerned. Okay, briefly, guys, I'm trying to see if I can find feed for the AC Milan game, but so far I have not succeeded. I do not know. I do not know why my feed is not giving me what I do expect of it, if we are being honest. I would have hoped that for better fortunes in as far as tonight is concerned, in accessing some of these fixtures, but you know, you do not always get what you want. Let me see if I refresh my page. We can find something more plausible to keep us company as we go through tonight's late night podcast. But yeah, you could say that I'm shit out of luck for today. I do not have the feed whatsoever. I've checked all my potential sources, and yeah, it's just not there. Meanwhile, there is a rough match, a betting scandal in Turkish football. About more than 100 match officials, referees, have been betting on games, and it's yet to be, ascertained whether some of the games they did place bets on are games that they themselves officiated and things like that. But it looks like it's a vice. According to the Turkish Football Federation, they say that yeah, their officials are betting on games, and that they have thousands and thousands of betting accounts. Whereas betting in itself wouldn't or shouldn't be a bad thing. You sort of if let's say you have a Turkish referee betting on the Spanish La Liga, that's okay. Maybe, I'm just thinking. But if you're betting on Turkish football when you're an official, and some of those are said to be elite referees who officiate in the top flight as well as the second tier, of Turkish football. I mean, that doesn't sound too nice. So again, investigation will go on according to the rules in Turkish football. If you're found guilty or breaching betting rules as a match official, you can be banned or suspended for a period of 1 year. However, according to FIFA, you could be suspended up to a period of 3 years. So it's all possible. It's all possible that you get suspended for a period of 3 years. And things like that. So we'll wait to hear what will come out of the Dutch football. Let me see. Oh, okay, fine. At long last, we could have some luck here. Just thinking out loud. I do not know. I don't know if we will be lucky, but we could get lucky and get the feed to the AC Milan Inter Milan game. Yes. Looks like not too bad. Yeah, beautiful game of football ongoing there in the Italian Serie A. So it's still one apiece. It's still one apiece between Atalanta and AC Milan. Ademola Lookman donning shirt 11 for this Atalanta side, who are under the charges of Ivan Juricic. Are giving AC Milan a run for their money, are giving AC Milan a run for their money. AC Milan, remember their last fixture over the weekend they shared the spoils with Pisa in a 2-all draw, something that not many had seen coming, possibly. Something that not many had seen coming. Remember, AC Milan are now under the charges of Massimiliano Allegri. He did return to the club, I think after a period of close to 10 years or thereabouts, you know. So, and they've done okay. They've done okay. At some point, they've been at the summit of the league, but because they were forced, they had to force their way into a 2-all draw against Pisa. They've sort of slipped down, I think, into 3rd place now. But if they win here, they can reclaim. I think they can move back to the summit of the standings. Let's see what the implications will be if AC Milan were to win. I think if they do win, yeah, they have the no, they may not move back. Oh wait, yeah, they could go second. They could go second if they can win here tonight. If they get beat, then they will stay 3rd on the standings. And if Inter Milan win tomorrow, then they can beat from them. So it's a bit of a tight situation up there in as far as the Italian Serie A is concerned at the top there. I think it's possibly in the German Bundesliga where you have a one-horse race of a title. Bayern Munich are dominant, really dominant there in that competition. But like I said, tomorrow, do not miss out on that action in the other fixtures of the EFL Cup. Like I told you, excuse me. Jesus Christ. How can it be so bad? You know, it can't be that bad, honestly speaking. It can't be that bad. Okay, all right, yes, tomorrow. Tomorrow, Arsenal will be up against Brighton, Liverpool will be up against Crystal Palace. I think that will be, or promises to be a very interesting game. Swansea will be at home against Manchester City, Tottenham take on Newcastle, and Wolverhampton Wanderers take on Chelsea. Now, all games will kick off at 10:45 p.m., apart from the Newcastle game that kicks off 15 minutes later. So that means its kickoff will be at 11 p.m. East African time. Then also, okay, briefly, let's look into these fixtures. Briefly, starting with Liverpool, Crystal Palace. We know that Crystal Palace, so far this season, have beaten up against Liverpool twice. In the Premier League by 2-1, and the Community Shield by 3-2, in post-match penalties that proceeded a 1-all draw. Remember, there's nothing that, like, if you go, you then get to play this fixture away from home. There's nothing like that. What happens is that if it ends in a draw in normal time, you go straight into penalties, no extra time, no nothing. That's what you get. So it's going to be interesting to see whatever result Liverpool can get out of this game. Now, it's not a make or break kind of game for Arne Slot, but it's suddenly going to feel like so because, like I've told you in all our discussions about Liverpool, so they've lost 5 out of 6. So if they were to lose 6 out of 7, it just does exacerbate that situation that they are already in. And when you look at out of the last 4 meetings between the two sides, Liverpool have only won once, and that was beating up against Crystal Palace by 0-0 last season at Selhurst Park. So in the other 3 games, Liverpool are winless because at Anfield, that game ended in a 1-all draw. So that was last season. And I told you about the 2 occasions this season. So to have a bit of a sigh of relief, more like the one that you had after that victory against Eintracht Frankfurt, is if they can go ahead and beat up against Crystal Palace, knock them out of the competition. I think that is what they would be hoping for. Liverpool, if you're a Liverpool fan, or maybe if you're Arne Slot, that is what you're hoping for. If you're a Liverpool fan, I do not know where this leaves you. Are you of the school of thought that maybe it doesn't matter even if we get knocked out of the Carabao Cup. That simply means we have fewer games to concentrate on and or fewer competitions to concentrate on. We put our focus to uh, regaining momentum in the Premier League and carrying on our season with the UEFA Champions League, and then possibly wait for the FA Cup come January. Excuse me. So, particularly, I do not know where you stand in principle on that front. Or are you of the view that you must win this game to find inspiration to take you into the weekend? Because as we all know, the Premier League or weekend football is always just around the corner. And I mean, it just match day 10, Liverpool are going to be at home against Aston Villa, a very, very difficult side. We're talking about a team that is, I think, unbeaten in their last 6 fixtures in the Premier League, as far as this season is concerned. So when you think about that, I think I'll go with the other side that thinks that Liverpool need to do whatever it takes to win this game. Like I said, it's not a make or break fixture for either Liverpool or Arne Slot, but it would do a whole lot of good to give them that bit of inspiration going into the weekend, because they are facing a Premier League opponent. And if you beat Crystal Palace, even though it's in the EFL Cup, it may give you that sense of belief going into the weekend in the game against Aston Villa. Now, also, the other question you must pose to oneself is, what kind of team does Arne Slot assemble? Do you risk your starters to feature against Crystal Palace, or do you reserve them for the weekend game? There's a bit of a catch-22 here. But given how poor they've been performing, I find no excuse to give those players, if I'm the manager, if I'm Arne Slot, to give them a moment's rest, to say, your Virgil van Dijk, sit this one out. Now, of course, when you think about it on the other side of the aisle, that one of your senior players or any of your senior players can pick up on a serious injury and they end up missing the fixture over the weekend, for me, I would say so be it. Why? Because what good is it to reserve them and we lose against Crystal Palace, and then we still have a poor game against Aston Villa over the weekend and possibly lose? So instead of deciding maybe to rest those senior players, I'm thinking throw them on the pitch, let them fight for this team, let them fight to find a way back. Otherwise, the more games Arne Slot loses, regardless of the competition, the more his CV, the more the ink, the dry ink or the conk ink on his CV begins to be diluted. So every loss from this stage going forward is going to be a scratch on his ego. It's going to be a dent in his Liverpool reputation as far as managing, one of the most successful clubs in England is concerned, if not the most successful, in that sort of regard and sense. So I would say throw in your big boys, let them play for you. Ibrahim Konate, Virgil van Dijk, Mamadashvili, Andy Robertson, Conor Bradley, McAllister, Szoboszlai. I don't know if Curtis Jones will be fit to play this one, but whichever Curtis Jones is available, I think whatever end is available, throw him into that pivot, let him play behind McAllister and Szoboszlai, go with Hugo Ekitike up front. Mo Salah should be on the pitch, Cody Gakpo should be on the pitch. Let them fight for the team. If things are failed by the 75th minute, you can withdraw them and throw on the Riongo Mohas, or at least let Federico Chiesa start that game. That's on the right, on the left wing, and things like that. So for Arne Slot, there's little room for error. There's, regardless of the competition that they are in, there's small, really, really a very, very small margin for error, in that sort of regard. just trying to make sure I do not miss out on any comments. Sometimes YouTube filters them out. So, anyways, so for me, that's my thoughts about Liverpool. If our group, I mean, up to until this stage, I do not think I can even predict the Liverpool game. The only way I can try and predict how the result, how the game could end, is if I see the starting lineups and I say, oh, this is how they have assembled the team. Maybe they have a chance here, or maybe they do not. You know, so how Crystal Palace is going to set up? Of course, conservatively try and catch Liverpool on the counter attack. Oliver Glasner is one of those managers who seems to have figured out how to beat up against Liverpool. So I do not know whether Glasner himself will be resting some players, because in the Premier League they've lost two of their last three games. So they also need to pick themselves up on that side. They've lost three games in their last four across all competitions, having lost in the Europa League against, in the UEFA Conference League against Lanaka, and the Premier League they lost to Everton. They also lost to Arsenal over the weekend, and in between that they have a 3-3 draw against FC Bournemouth. So if I'm thinking, if I'm Oliver Glasner, I'm equally desperate to get back to winning ways. I need my boys to regain their confidence. I need us to keep to pick up from. We need to regain our momentum back. So anything it takes to go ahead and win that game, I'd say do it. If you're Oliver Glasner, so it's going to be, that's what will make it a very, very entertaining game. Then the other game I want us to look at is the game between Arsenal and Brighton. Again, the question for Mikel Arteta is: do you rest your players, your main starters, or do you throw them into the deep end and say, look here, guys, any chance for a piece of silverware this season, we're going to take it. Any chance. And like I said, if Arsenal can win a piece of silverware at the earliest available opportunity, which is the Carabao Cup, that could go a long way in determining how then they go about the remainder of the season. The Carabao Cup, as small a trophy as it is, as less regarded it is as compared to the FA Cup, the Premier League, and of course the Champions League, it does give you a sense of belief. It does give you a sense of inspiration that you can go on and win other trophies. Remember the time when Manchester City were winning it? I think at some point they must have won it like 4 consecutive times or 3 consecutive times. And Pep Guardiola, it's a competition that he's won about 4, 5, 6 times. And the reason as to why he does that, he sort of never underestimated it. He always went with a strong team, a play to win, because it was always that then propelled them to fight for other pieces of silverware. And on numerous occasions, they won the Premier League title and the Carabao Cup. At one point, they won the domestic treble. They won the FA Cup. Then they won the Champions League. That was 2023, and then they won the league title. Of course, 2023. The Carabao Cup was won by Manchester United. Still, I think they beat up against. I forget who they beat up against in the final. So I think they beat up against Newcastle. I stand to be corrected. I think they beat up against Newcastle. So it's a very good motivator of a competition going into the remainder of the season for any big team. Then, so on that very note, that's where I think he will take it as serious as he can. The last thing he wants is him to be sort of jumped at by the media for not taking the competition serious. 2, they have the squad. Yes, they have so many injuries or injury concerns coming into this fixture, and yet subsequently there's a very important game over the weekend against Burnley, after which they'll have a game in the UEFA Champions League, play Sunderland before we go for the November international break. So when you break it down, I think this is the kind of game that calls for Kepa Arrizabalaga to come in call, the kind of fixture that should be giving Piero Hincap a test. I think it's a little too much to ask of Hincap to make his first full debut against Brighton, but also he couldn't have it any other way because he was out injured. So, and it's the EFL Cup. So the pressure maybe slightly less as compared to how it would be in the Premier League. But nonetheless, it will still be there. Who do you play alongside Pierre Hincap? I think you give Christian Mosquera a note. That's depending. I mean, give Christian Mosquera a chance, but also it's a huge gamble because that will be an entirely new partnership. You know, they've never played together as centre backs. You know, of course, Hincap will be playing at left back. Sorry, at the left side of the centre back, and then Mosquera at the right side of the centre back. Now, out of the two, who provides leadership to the other? You'd have to have Kepa Arrizabalaga screaming at them all night. Then at left back, you go with Miles Lewis Kelly. At right back, Ben White. I think for Ben White and Miles Lewis Kelly, I'm not concerned. Mosquera, we've seen enough of him to know that, you know, he's capable. It's a Hincap that we've not seen enough of to know where he stands so far. Then in that midfield, we know that over the weekend, Declan Rice went off, was substituted off with an issue. Do you risk Martin Zubimendi? How do you go about that midfield? Personally, I'll go with Christian Norgard at the best of midfield. I'll go with Mikel Merino. I'll go with Ebeleche Eze in that midfield three. Mikel Merino, Christian Norgard, and Ebeleche Eze. Then up front, I'd go with Ethan Wanyeri as the right winger. I'd go with Leandro Trossard to start as the target man, and Gabriel Martinelli. Those two can alternate, you know, between the two. One goes left, one moves center, like that. They can alternate, you know, in that sort of sense. That's the kind of starting level that I would go for. Not that it will be the strongest, but I think it's good enough team to, if they are serious, to compete against Brighton. Whether they can actually win is a whole different, you know, situation. But you do force them to go and compete, and then you give the likes of Martin Zubimendi a bit of a rest. You give Victor Gyökeres a bit of a rest, but around the 60th mark, depending on how the game is going, or even half time, you may sort of make certain changes. It's a kind of game, if you are winning by the 80th minute, sorry, by the 75th minute, if you're 2-0 up, maybe you bring on Max Dorman, you know, give him a sniff. That kind of game, I do not expect that the likes of Joshua Nicholas will be, you know, be brought on. In this one, I do not, Mary Solomon, I do not know. Those academy youngsters, but I would want to think that that's the kind of team you go with, because you do not want to, because you're already missing Martin Odegaard, you're already missing Kai Havertz, you're missing Gabriel Jesus, you're missing Noni Madueke, you added Carafiori to the list, you added Declan Rice to the list, and Bukayo Saka was feeling a bit of illness. He didn't have a good game against Crystal Palace. You had who else was withdrawn due to William Saliba at halftime was withdrawn. That's as many as 8-9 players that have injury concerns or illnesses, you know. So you can see that. And I'm really praying to see this kind of moments in the season. And I hope we do get the chance to have it, where Arsenal have an almost fully fit squad. All players at Mikel Arteta's disposal, and we see how he goes about games, how he rotates teams, how the kinds of substitutions he makes, and things like that. Because they will be critical in us understanding deeper how Mikel Arteta wants to go about the season. But unfortunately, he's not yet had that kind of chance to have the entire squad available. On the side of Brighton, I think the big threat. It's a team that, forget what happened at the weekend, the team that are capable of defending really, really well. Over the weekend, they played some sloppy passes that led to the first 2 goals. But they can be a very decent side. And Lewis Dunk, very good in the air, even when he comes in the opponent's box. He's one of those players that they look to target when they're playing their set pieces. Danny Welbeck, an Arsenal Obi, is available. I mean, he's just in very, very decent form. So I think he has what 5 goals so far this season in the Premier League already. He's 34 and yet he's playing much better football than he played in his 20s. He plays with a sense of leadership within this Brighton side. We saw his brilliant free kick against Manchester United over the weekend. Carlos Baleba in that midfield. You look at Yankuba Minte, he missed some chances over the weekend, but can be a very, very good player. You look at you know, Kaoru Mitoma, if he's available, can trouble any defense on a given day. I mean, they are a very, very decent side, you know. Is it Costolas, the guy who scored the second goal for them over the weekend? Brilliant Greek, you know, player. So yeah, they're very capable team. They have a defender, Van Het, I think, has scored some own goals, has been calamitous in a fixture or two so far this season, but make no mistake, he's a brilliant, brilliant defender. So I think Brighton's capabilities of troubling big teams is well documented. I do not think it will be anything new if Brighton went and beat up against Arsenal. I do not think it will be overly surprising if they picked up such a result. Let's not forget that a couple of weeks ago they went to Stamford Bridge and beat up against Chelsea by 3 goals to 1. You know, and had it not been for their own mistakes, the game against Man United perhaps could have ended in a different result. But United were the better team on the day, so they got to beat them. So Fabian Hatzler did mention that they are equally working on their set piece plays. They know how to defend the set pieces, and he says, he was saying that it's not really Gabriel that is the man to look out for when you go into Arsenal set pieces. It's how about the entire team moves, the disruptions they cause within the box. And I think he's very right about that, because as Gabriel stands out in those set pieces, his success is directly related to how all the other players move, because that movement causes disruption. Oftentimes you have an Arsenal player running towards the goalkeeper to sort of block the goalkeeper from, you know, coming out to punch that ball away. You have a bit of chaos being caused that the front post, while if the ball is being, you know, booted to the back end of the, you know, of the pitch, sorry, of the box, and then they just create that bit of chaos for you, and that's what makes it hard to defend about their set pieces. But also the delivery is always good. However, out of the starting 11 that I've read, then I think they would miss that aerial sort of threat, that set piece threat, when given the kind of lineup that I've given. If it were to be the one read out, would deliver the balls, because Declan Rice, his execution in the dead ball situations, in corner kicks, in free kicks, has been really, really excellent so far this season, you know, in that sort of regard. And meanwhile, the game between AC Milan and Atlanta is still a 1-1, so you're not missing out on anything. You're not missing out on anything. You're not missing out on anything. So do not say that I didn't update you and you're missing out on a future. But Brentford are 5 up against Grimsby Town. Fulham Wycombe is still 1-1, while Wrexham did find the equalizer against Cardiff City in those ongoing fixtures. So that's for me, that's what to expect. But like I said, Arsenal should be doing everything to win this game, not just for the sake of the competition, but also for the sake of keeping their momentum, because success is contagious. The more you win, the more hungrier you are to even win the next game, because you do not want to break that winning pattern. You know, it's look at it in this sense. It's like when you wake up and you go to work and you have that moji and everything. Let's say you're working on a report, you're working on a document, and everything, you know, matter is just flowing, you know, or even if it's not a report, but whatever. If you're coding for the software engineers, and everything is just working in you. You have that inspiration to, if you're a writer, I mean, and let's say you're writing a story, you're writing an article, you're writing a blog, you're writing a book, you're writing a journal, whatever it is. If everything is flowing smoothly, you may even forget that you've been seated for the last 3 hours writing. If things are moving smoothly, so Arsenal need to fight not to break that winning spell or that winning momentum that they built this season. Ever since they lost to Liverpool, because they lost against Liverpool. That was on match day 3 of the Premier League, and ever since then, they've not lost a game. In the UEFA Champions League, they've won 3. In the EFL Cup, they've won 1 against Portugal by 2-0. So I do not expect there to be a whole chunk of goals. I do not expect it to be a 5-3, a 4-3 kind of, scoreline, given how Arsenal have applied themselves so far this season. However, I wouldn't be surprised if there's more than 2 goals in the game. Maybe Arsenal winning 2-1, because Brighton do not often play in a conservative manner. So, and Arsenal would relish a challenge in an open-ended kind of game, in that sort of sense. Although if Brighton also bring their A team, then Arsenal will be in for a long evening or night. Okay, we'll leave that Arsenal game at that. Then also, like I said, the other game is between Manchester City and Swansea. For me, my expectation is for Manchester City to go and win this game. Hands down, it's not going to be a walk in the park, but yeah, they should just go and win. Same applies for Chelsea up against Wolverhampton Wanderers. Having lost to Sunderland over the weekend, you need to bounce back, Chelsea. And again, there's no reason to rest any of those players. For as long as they are available, you should just be throwing them on the pitch to play and win, get back to winning ways, find the inspiration, because you're playing Wolves after the weekend in which Chelsea will be playing, will be in action against Tottenham Hotspur. After that game, their next fixture will be against Wolverhampton Wanderers, I think before the international break. So, go and beat Wolves and send that message that when we meet again in a week's time, be rest assured you'll be in for a run for your money. Then Tottenham Hotspur, Newcastle, for me, that's going to be a very, very difficult game. Both teams can play a defensive game, can play conservatively. Both teams can be a big threat when it comes to set piece play. It will boil down who will win the midfield battle, who will win the wing, battles when it comes to wingers versus the fullbacks in that sort of regard. Whoever wins those battles is the one that will win the fixture. Tottenham in high spirits are following their 3-0 victory over the weekend against Everton. Newcastle beat up against Fulham by 2-1 from the weekend. And Newcastle last season they won this competition, so they are the reigning champions of the EFL Cup. They would want to go far in this competition, possibly win it back to back and create that winning culture. So again, we'll wait and see how things go down. In as far as on paper is concerned, again, I'll have to wait for the starting 11s to come out. But given that Newcastle at home, of course, they have the advantage, the home advantage, and it's something that you can go with to the bank. Over the summer, they did play a friendly. That one ended in a 1-1 draw. In the Premier League last season, Newcastle beat up against Tottenham Hotspur by 2-1, home and away in both fixtures. But you remember the kind of Tottenham Hotspur that there was last season in the Premier League. So, then when you go back to the season subsequent to that, Newcastle beat up against Spurs by 4-0 at St. James's Park, while Tottenham won the game by a 4-1 results at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So usually the home team gets the advantage, but also when you go back to the 2022-2023 campaign, you find that Newcastle beat up against Tottenham Hotspur by beat them home and away 6-1 at St. James's Park and 2-1 away to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So my good from to be pressed, I may think that maybe Newcastle could make this one, could be a 1-0 kind of game, or a 1-1 that ends into penalties, in that sort of sense. Anyways, guys, we did come late, so allow me to wrap it here and wish you a blessed night. It's been a pleasure doing this with you. Tomorrow morning, I'm not so sure what time we will be coming live. We may not have our morning broadcast due to some work that I need to tend to. Fasting in the morning, because I believe if I do it fasting in the morning, then I may end up with a better day as compared to going in midway the day. So, yeah, we may not do early morning broadcast at 9 a.m. as we usually do. If it's to come, it may come a little later than 9 a.m. So just keep me in your prayers. But if we are to do it, it will be still about to go some of those fixtures and what else there will be to come, or any other news that may have dropped in the course of the day, or in the nights until then. So otherwise, it's been a pleasure doing this with you. For those of you that keep us company every single night and every single morning without tiring, we do appreciate you a great deal. Thank you so much for the time you dedicate to supporting what we do, for loving what we do. We will keep serving you. We will keep serving you. So have yourselves a blessed night, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye bye for now.